Hello, I'm William Cook, and this is my video discussion when we're talking about location in the American Revolution. As you can see, I'm out here in the woods. Specifically, this is the backwoods areas of Georgia. So, given the circumstances of where I'm at, I'm going to be doing my video presentation on the Battle of Kettle Creek. Now, that's outside, it's around Washington County in Georgia. And I'm not at the Battle of Kettle Creek field here. I'm just in an area that represents it. It's about a 2-hour drive from where I'm at, and I'm just south of Atlanta. The anniversary of the Battle of Kettle Creek was just a few days behind me, February 14th on 1779. And so I decided to do this battle. Now, it's significant for a couple reasons here. The first reason we're going to talk about, to go over the leaders here, James Boyd was part of the British military. He was the leader, and this battle actually represents the expedition south from departure from New York City, heading towards Augusta and eventually Savannah, Tybee Island. And what it represented the British trying to expand southward. The other significant representation was the Patriot resistance. This actually marked the inability of the British to maintain a hold on certain areas. Specifically, Kettle Creek. At this point, you have to understand the British were considered to really have a stronghold once they captured their forts. Now, what happened was they were abandoning when I say they, I mean the British. The British was abandoning their Augusta fort, and they were starting to march south. Now, they were being followed closely by the Patriot resistance, led by Andrew Pickens. And when they were doing that, Andrew Pickens, they actually found several abandoned camps and kind of caught on to that they're headed south. Now, what General Boyd did, Boyd, the British general, he was actually recruiting loyalists along the way, threatening them for seizure of their home, stripping them of their properties, if they didn't make an oath of loyalty to the British. So they gathered up well over 1,000 troops on their way south. And so that's where you look at the British advantage in terms of numbers. That's another significant part here. As you can see behind me, the terrain, I'm on an angle here. The backcountry of Georgia is very unforgiving. It's very swampy. And they use this to their advantage. Now, Boyd had absolutely no idea that they were being followed that closely. So this is a lot of a surprise attack as well. What Pickens had done is they had followed them along the creek line, and eventually where they had stopped for rest at Kettle Creek, that is where they made their strike. They came up and emerged from the swamps and were able to circle and break down the lines, and were able to eventually penetrate and completely defeat the army. And they took several prisoners. This is another note of significance, was the Patriot treatment of prisoners, because of the couple hundred that were taken, only about 20 of them, of the wounded, actually survived. They were tried for treason and were eventually hung. This caused British outrage of the treatment that they had of what they considered to be prisoners of war. So you got the British southward expansion. You have the Patriots' ability to break through the lines and the British inability to hold lines. And you also have that treatment of the prisoners, which was also a significant amount. Now, eventually, the British did retake this land. They retook Savannah, and this was all casualty from the siege of Charleston. Now, this battlefield is actually, and you'll excuse me for referencing this, it's actually a National Register of Historic Places. The land was actually purchased, about 60 acres worth, by locals contributing, and those who have heritage ties. So they've actually purchased this land and it's protected. And in 2018, the American Battlefield Trust and its partners, they acquired and preserved 180 acres of the battlefield. And it is now awarded an affiliated area of the National Park Service as of January 2021, so fairly recently. The Battle of Kettle Creek was very significant for several reasons, and you can kind of interpret it however you kind of see, whether it's the Patriots' treatment of the British, or whether it was justified by the British threatening and sieging property of the American colonists and making them plead an oath of loyalty. So there's several different counts, and it is a protected area. And please take note of the terrain behind me. It's very unforgiving, very humid, swampy, and causes for an advantaged battlefield if you know it. If you don't know it, it could prove, as it did, to make you very vulnerable.